Found out about it when I was in the cinema. Weirdly enough, I was watching, I can't remember what I was watching, but we were working on my record at the time, so I hadn't really thought about those sorts of things, like putting songs in ads or shows and stuff like that. Like that's a big part of most musicians' careers these days. It's like, but they kind of sent me the mail and I was like focused on something else, so I was just like, no, I'm not really that interested. But I didn't read it really, I just kind of saw it and was like, no. And then I was at the cinema and I was like, what the fuck did I say? I was like, did I just say no to that? Because I'm a huge Game of Thrones fan. So then I went back and read it again and was like, okay, I'll do it. Because I think there was some issue, that was the problem. There was like a weird thing with Chris Isaac, because it's his song, where they were looking for some weird rights issue or there was something. And I was just like, oh, that's a bit annoying. So I kind of got a bit like, I'm not gonna do that. But then I was like, that's crazy, James, just do it. So it was great. I mean, those things are gas. Like it's, because so many people watch it so quickly, and because my name was attached to it so heavily, like as in, that was part of the thing, was I was like, I'll do it if you could just like make sure that people know that it's me. Which they did, which was amazing, except that I just updated the iOS on my phone the day that they did it, and it bricked my phone for like a day and a half because I couldn't open it, because every time I tried to like unlock the screen, a new notification kept popping up of someone having like retweeted the video. I think that like, if you listen to the 3 albums in sequence, it makes perfect sense. And I think if you don't, I understand why people think that it's sort of, the electronic elements have kind of come in quite dramatically, but they haven't, you know what I mean? The second record, there was like, probably 50% of it was made electronic, and 50% was like analog playing. And the first album was like heavy on sort of, it was a much more analog record, but again, I was poor as shit when I made it. Like, and it was sort of this, every album has its context and its circumstance, like first album, second album, third album. With the third record, I just, you know, I've been doing this 6 years, like putting out records, and I've learned a lot. And I take this really seriously, and the idea of like not doing the things that I want to do seems really, I wouldn't do this if I wasn't willing to take those risks on myself. So, but you have to be in the right place to do it. And this is the first album where I was in a position where I could go to the people that I wanted to work with enough confidence in myself and my songs, and also enough like trust in them to deliver back to me, you know, or to reciprocate that energy. So I think I was pushing myself on the second record to try and be like all things on the record, mix it, produce it, play everything. And it's just, I couldn't do it anymore, and also get better as a songwriter. So I needed to find people that could do it. So the fact that it's a dramatic step up is a lot to do with them, because they are masters of that world. You know, like those 3 guys have an understanding of electronics that's way beyond me. And these are the sounds that I've wanted to use my entire life, but I've tried to do it myself. And I kind of hit a threshold that I can't get through. So they were just the guys that pushed past it. So they were the ones that kind of brought that extra level of like fidelity and quality to the audio that I just could never get myself. Yeah. So it's kind of a mixture of all of us. It's inevitable that between the first record and the second record, a certain amount of people will not listen, because there was a certain thing that people were tied to on the first record, and that being the guitar. And there was a, you know, it was the backdrop of me putting out the first record was a lot of people making records with guitars, you know, be it people like Bon Iver or Mumford & Sons and Laura Marling. There was just a huge amount of people with guitars, and there was this sort of like folk movement that was happening. I'm never part of it. I never wanted to be part of it. I never called myself a folk musician, but a lot of people kind of ascribed that to it because it was in the ether, and I never did anything to try and like dissuade anybody of that. Like there's songs on that record, like there's a song called We Don't Eat on that record, which is just pianos and drums, and is like fits as easily within the context of our show now as it did 5-6 years ago with these new songs. So I always feel like I've been doing my own thing and doing that, but there was an amount of the audience that definitely wouldn't have agreed with that. They would have thought, like, where did the guitar go? And that would mean that they would go. And that's fine, you have to take those risks. You have to trust that, like, if you lose one person, you'll get 2 back. And the only thing that the only way that I can ever quantify it or feel like we're kind of making grounds because I don't have radio singles is the amount of people that show up to shows. So like, you know, between the first album and the second album, yeah, I probably lost a bunch of people that were a bit confused. But we also ended up playing in rooms twice the size or 3 times the size in some countries. And that shows me that the instinct was right. And I also believe that eventually people will come back around. You know, or they'll, like, and I see that with this third record, which is really interesting. A huge amount of people that I definitely wouldn't have been like on board with my second record as much have vocalized to me how much they get this third album. Maybe that's like the musical context at the moment. People are a little bit more open to that kind of stuff, and that idea of being sort of categorized by one thing is kind of falling away. But yeah, you lose people, you gain people. It's just how it goes, and you have to just do the thing you want to do and trust that it'll all work out the way it's supposed to, because it inevitably does. Like, in, you know, anything else is just law of diminishing returns. If you keep trying to hold on to people that you've got, I've seen people do that. It seems like a bad vibe. Like, you know, trying to like hold an audience. Okay, we can play in front of 1,000 people, so let's try and keep it at 1,000. I'll risk going to 200 in order to get it to 2 if that means that I do the things that I want to do. I expect that most of them by the time we get there, especially on the continent, would be, yeah, I do. I mean, I have a certain expectation, not in a cocky, conceited sense. It's just, we haven't played in a while, it's a new record, there's always a good energy to things. And I'm also like, you know, yeah, like live is sort of where we've lived for 5 years, you know? It's what I'm known to a lot of people for, is the live performances. And so I think that means that people will always come out to shows. I think there's always that inevitable, like, when you first put out a new song, people always want to wait and pause and see what the record's like before they make a decision. In certain countries it goes like that. It goes like that here a lot more than it does in other countries, I find. Like, the whole Canadian tour is now sold out, and most of those shows have been sold out for a while. A lot of the US ones are about to be sold out. Whereas here it's always a bit more, people are a bit more cagey and stuff, which is interesting. I think the psychology of crowds is fascinating to me, man, how people respond. But yeah, I think in their first round of shows, you'd always kind of have an expectation that people will come. I would imagine that Prince is like a really common response to like, you know, he's everybody's hero, and also like his music is sort of has aged incredibly well, as in it doesn't sound lacking in anything. So like, those types of people I love. Same with Neil Young. Like, I mean, he's my favorite songwriter, and I think that he had a moment in the late 60s, early 70s where he was just flawless. So I would love to have been in the studio from just a purely voyeuristic kind of perspective, almost just to like kind of like witness it and see what the process was like. Because I find that, I mean, as a musician, as a music fan, I find it fascinating. So I'd love to, like, I wouldn't call that necessarily collaboration, it'd be more just me sitting in a room with a pen, pencil or something, or like a pad and pencil, just like writing down what he did to try and like understand it. Yeah. It's like one of those things where like I'd love to sit in on a session with someone like Neil Young in his prime kind of thing. I'd love to be part of like a Prince session in the 80s, like if I was being specific. So it changes quite a lot, because we're starting to play, and the show is really starting to find like an amount of swagger now, which is really nice. The first 4 shows are very much like everybody's in their head still and kind of thinking. So it's hard you're just in it too heavy, and there has to be an amount of like, you just flow through a show and then you start to pick up the songs. There's a song called Last Story, which I really enjoy playing in the moment. And there's also the last song on the record is this one, called Lost Angles, which I do in the middle of the set, and it's just me and a piano. That's probably my favorite at the moment, just because the moment in the show feels really weighty to me personally. Like, it's just nice to sing it, and nice to kind of be able to sing it for people now, and I think like it resonates with people on a level that it feels pretty catalytic in the room. So that's probably my favorite at the moment, just because we're playing live and it changes. You know, sometimes I'll just like a synth sound or something, and I'll like it, and that'll be my favorite. But it's like trying to pick your favorite child or something, I guess. I don't know. I'll be able to do that. Yeah, there's like, Like there's certain cities that I have like we're doing the Roundhouse in London, and that's a place that like, yeah, I lived in London in 2008, I think, for like 6-7 months, right after I signed my first publishing deal. And I used to go to shows in the Roundhouse all the time, like the iTunes festivals and stuff, and it's amazing like that. So that is like, there's certain venues that like are sort of places that resonate with me as like a music fan, and the idea of like selling those places out really gets me as a music fan. Like, that's really cool. So there, and then like the Wiltern in LA is a place, like I lived in LA last year and I used to go see loads of shows there. So the idea of selling that out again is like a trip. But that's, I mean, this sounds really ridiculous, but I like being anywhere at the moment, like, because we're just in a nice pocket where like the album's out, people like it, it's working really well live. Like everything is working so much easier live than it was on the second record. So just playing in front of anybody at the moment and being able to like play this show for them feels really special. So I'm just happy to be anywhere playing the shows right now. There's nowhere I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe we get to play, you know, Barcelona or whatever. It's great that we're in Barcelona, but no more or less so than the fact that I'm in Leeds, you know. Yeah. Although people probably might say they might rather be in Barcelona than Leeds, I don't know. Well, I mean, the honest answer is like on this, yeah, with this first tour, because it's like we're covering like I think 10 or 11 countries in a month. You just have to be like, the fact that we're doing 4 in England is a lot. Like considering we're doing like 1 in the Netherlands and 1 in Stockholm, or in Sweden, 1 in Norway. It's just, we have to be selective about where we go. But yeah, no, 1 in Sheffield, I don't know, we'll figure that out. Because I think I did like, is it The Plug? Is that right? Yeah. And that was the last time I played Sheffield, I think.
Probably not the nice venue.
Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah. That one at The Plug was pretty mental. It was crazy. Yeah. It was like start of 2012, I think. It was the last time we played there. So yeah, I'll get someone to fix that. All right.
I think that's everything.
Cool.